Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp of the Limp, and we're going to jump right into some Death Ride Arras. Make sure you check out that overview I did. I'm not going to be getting into all those specifics again, so check it out. Now, let's see. Here, we've got our little sequence of play. Okay, we're down here. This is where we're going to be starting at. German turn. Their operations phase, we don't have to worry about command and control because we're not doing supply or command and control aspects. You see it's red, it's optional. We're not worrying about it. As far as this stuff, we're just starting off, so we don't have to worry about reinforcements or intelligence or supply or any of that stuff. I already rolled for the Germans. They did not get lucky and get an air unit. But it didn't matter anyway because I don't think they could start getting... No, wait, they can start getting it. Their air support can start at 1300, but it did not, so we don't have to worry about that. And we are starting at the earliest possible turn just because I am doing it that way, and it's going to be easier. Now, when I was poking around at this earlier, there are so many modifiers that come into play. So I was looking around at this sheet, and I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is this? Because some of the things that I'm looking at, I'm understanding. I'm like, all right, total ratios, combat, and whatnot. And you get your ratio, you roll on the combat results table, apply your modifiers. But I'm like, what the hell is this? It's primary and secondary weapons I get. Primary is top of the counter, secondary is bottom of the counter. But what's short and long range? And I could not find it in the rulebook to save my life until I finally got to the beginning of the rulebook. And I did some digging on that. And the only thing I could find where it was talking about the long range being the primary fire and the short range being the secondary fire. From reading this, from what I can see of it, it appears like secondary weapons do not have a long range. And primary weapons do have a short and a long range. So looking at our counters, genuinely, right, you're going to be seeing primary, the top number, having a longer range than the bottom number. That makes me think that the top is long range, the bottom is short range. So if you fire at someone within... using your primary weapon and they're at up to this range, then that's going to be considered long range. But if they're at this range or under, then that's going to be considered short range. That's the best I could come up with, because that would make sense on why there's no long range for secondary weapons, because obviously they can't reach that far because their max range is short range. So they're only going to be firing at short ranges. So we only have to worry about long and short effectively for primary weapons. But with primary weapons, it's like, honestly, this could use just a little extra design work, a little more time in the oven, because there's a better way to word it than it was written down. And if I'm right on what that means, and I think I am, because it doesn't make sense any other way, then it would have made much more sense to just write it that way, right? Versus the way it was written in the rulebook, which was very confusing because it talked about some type of blue dot. And I'm like, there's no blue dot on any of the damn counters. I don't know what you're talking about here. Besides that, we also have one other thing that we have to look at, and that is the surprise table. And these are modifiers that get applied, and it starts at 1400, but I'm just going to use that number for 1300 starting off, and then adjust on as we go on. But basically, the British get a bonus and the Germans get a negative modifier starting out in the first few turns, because each one of these turns takes like 15 or 20 minutes of real life game time, whatever it's supposed to be representing. So the British have the advantage. They're surprising the Germans. But in reading up on it, it's the Germans are supposed to try to link up with the West, and the British need to go on the offensive as quick as possible to try to take advantage of those surprise modifiers that are going to slowly go down as the turns go on. But I don't even know how far we're going to get on that because there's just so much going on here. that I don't know that I'll even get that far, but we'll get where we get, and I don't know. We'll see, because I can't I can't comment on everything. Damn, it's just there's so much going on here. Okay, well, I know I want to do movement with the Germans this first little bit. All right, and we've got primary road trail, and so that looks like it costs 2/3 of a point. Are you shitting me? 2/3 of a point for movement for foot and tracked, and 1/2 for truck. So they're getting a bonus to movement, but only 1/3 of a point of a bonus to movement. Let's see. So if these counters have 2, right? I'm trying to bump my little thing here. These counters have 2, and I want to get them moving in so we can bring in more units. So that's 2/3. Be 1 3/4. So basically, they can move 3 hexes. And I'm not going to do reserve movement because they're not going to get in the assault anytime soon. Reserve. Let me grab a counter to show you here. Where is it at? All right, so that's a reserve, right? And then we have Overwatch. Now, Overwatch is what you would put on them to signify that they're going to fire back against opportunity fire. You don't have to have a counter on a unit for opportunity fire. You will mark them as fired. But if you want to be able to fire back, right, to interrupt their shot, then you need Overwatch counters. And that does cost something. If I remember right, that's you can only move 1/4 or it's 1/2. Yes, it is 1/4 rounded up is what they can move. So 1/4 of one of their movements would actually be 1, right? If I'm doing that right. Because like I said, this game does rounding in interesting ways. So if they've got 2 and it's rounding up, and like I said, that it's going to be different for all the different things. Some things you will round down, some things you won't round, and some things you will round up. It's cumbersome. But if I'm reading that right, that means 1/4 of their movement would be 0.5. Okay, looking at these counters along the road here. All right, blue and purple here, the 7th and the 6th, if I remember right, or the 7th and 6th, whichever one's which. Yeah, the 6th is blue, 7th is purple. But if they can move 1/4 rounded up, then 1 or 0.5 or 1/2 rounded up becomes a 1, which means they're effectively half. But otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do it. So they could move up to that amount of distance and be marked as Overwatch, which would allow them to opportunity fire back. But they're not going to be doing opportunity fire back anytime soon, because if we look here, there's a little ridge here, right? So we got a road coming in through here, and it goes all the way around. It keeps on shooting in this direction, but this ridge is going to be blocking movement for a little bit. And I think I want to kind of move these guys up and start stacking them and then go on with them, because that's a platoon. Yeah, all of these are platoons. I tried to stack them out by what they are. So it was like A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. I forget which. But basically try to keep them like with like. So these guys are all part of the same company, right? So 1A, 2A, 3A, something like that. But I don't know if I had it exactly perfect. But if I didn't, it is what it is. I'm not going to sweat it. I'm just going to stick with like 3 platoons. We'll make a company. But we're going to go 1, 2, 3 for his movement, and we're going to just keep doing that. I will stack these guys as they get farther up. So basically, they're moving up this trail, and I'm doing that so I can bring out 3 more units. We're going to just keep stacking these guys along. And like I said, I don't know if that's exactly right, but I will let them have 3 platoons per company on the board. So here we go. We've got that group going on. Yeah. Okay. So that works out for all of them. They have all done full movement except for these guys coming on the back. He's gone to there. He's got 1 movement left. So he could go ahead and stack up. Yeah, because it's 1, 2. He can get here 3. 1, 2, 3. He can get to there. So now I can get more on. All right. And just so I don't have to put out counters on all of them, I'm going to just put 1 here, 1 here, or my beads, just to signify this whole trailhead has moved their full movement. I've got a couple of full stacks back here, more coming in behind, and there is that the purple? For them, they have 1 company size HQ left, and after that, it's members of either the 37th or the 7th Recon. I think it's the 37th Recon group is going to be coming in after them, but I'm going to start stacking them along. We're going to do the same thing with the 6th up here. Now, they've got a little bit different because this is the town, and I don't really want to get stuck in on the town with the Germans. I kind of want to scoot around because the British are going to have overwhelming support over there. They're going to have better units and stronger units. Basically, the British goal is to come down through this direction, hit them, do a bunch of damage, and then pull back out. But if the Germans get up here, they'll be kind of extended. I've got a lot of heavier weapons down over here that are already on the board. So if I make the British come down here, that's fields of fire. So I'm thinking I might just keep them shooting up this way and then scoot down back into these roads, kind of tuck into these lower hills. All right, so same thing. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do that with this whole line and then bring on more units. All right, and these Germans are a little better positioned because they came in, they had a little bit farther. They were a little farther up the road, rather, so they would get more units. And I just realized I should have flipped them all to their mobile side because these guys all have embedded trucks. I didn't think about that. I could have flipped them over and I would have got a lot more movement. Oh, I was so stupid there. I'm not going to take it back. I screwed that up, but they all could have flipped. I'll flip them on their next turn, but yeah, you see how they have the wheels, right? So 6 movement points versus the 2 that they have. These guys have a lot more on that. And actually, I just noticed this one is at 0. So he had to have been on his wheeled side. So did he. Some of these units that I might have messed up and put on the wrong side, I'll have to go back and flip over. But I think that's all of them. All right, and we'll leave them where they are. I'll punish myself. Yep, we got another one here. Both of these should be flipped over to their mechanized side with no combat values, but movement points. Okay, yeah, that should take care of them, and their HQ is on the board. But after these guys, there is another stack of blue. All right, so this whole stack here that's on the board, there's another one coming just like it. I forgot about that. Yep, there's another one coming just like it. Same for these guys. So there's the little circle that's on the side of these guys designating who they are. There's the square units as well. There's huge amount of German forces streaming up these roads. They could cover, once they get the 25th Panzer on, if they stretch all their units out individually by platoons, they could cover this entire map. edge to edge easily with units left to spare. That's how many units they have still coming in on these two sets of roads. So they really need to move forward on these next turns. Now, see, yeah, I could move. I could do like opportunity fire, but I'm having to make sure I'm really eyeballing this because there's a town here that blocks line of sight. The Citadel blocks line of sight. Forest blocks line of sight. And these hills, especially, those are going to be easy for me to miss just because there are lines on the board. But you see, 75 altitude, 100 altitude. It's pretty much where both of them. No, we got way over there some 125s. So basically, it's wavy as they go along. There on this little road, kind of in the valley. This goes up to 75. This goes up to 100. But basically, this little town's on or big town rather, is kind of on a ridge here. So they're kind of in this valley, but I want to bring them back around down in this direction. These British guys come down through and put the hurt on them, but the British are going to be doing the same thing that the Germans are, just trying to get units on the board. All right, and again, I'm going to mark both ends with a B just to remind myself that I have already activated all of those units. There are counters for moved, half moved, the whole nine. There's plenty of those counters, but they're supposed to be used and then reused later on. You don't have enough for every single counter on the board, but this is why I'm just using my beats as reminders. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if this is smart or not, but I'm going to bring this HQ back just a little bit from the front lines. We'll go 1. And this is where we're in. No, wait, he's tracked. So yeah, that's 3/4 as well. So that's going to be 2/3, 1 1/3. Basically, he's got plenty of movement points to get up over here where I want to put him. I'll put him right there on that little ridge. And now we've got a bunch of British guys who are coming in. I've got a whole mechanized or armored line here. And then I brought the infantry there, but coming in right behind them are all the tanks as well. And I think I'm just going to level into this city, take control of it, probably the Citadel as well. But now I know I can flip them over. I should have done that with the Germans. I don't know. With the Germans being so close, I don't know that I really want to. Oh, these guys don't have embedded. Look. See? And their counters, they do not have it. Oh, that's right. Each one of these stacks, they have 5 trucks. Red trucks and these beige trucks. There's 5 that I can use. Nowhere near enough for all of them. And I'll probably have to use those with units that need to be on that. Yeah, because some of these have 0 without it. They're going to have to be loaded in trucks. So you see like here, there was one, and then there's an AT gun over here somewhere. Yep. Right here, I'm just going to put him in that truck as well. Any of these British units that have 0, none of the others do, and I'll save it. I've got a few more trucks, but there are some more AT guns coming in as well. But see, these have built-in movement, right? They got built-in trucks, but these first sets don't. But I do have counters for those. So these guys are on trucks. They're moving up on those, and I'll have to unlimber them before they'll be able to fire. All right, so these black ones, those are secondary roads. So that's a mixture of primary and secondary roads in the town, but they cross all these little bridges. I kind of want to just slam these infantry forward and maybe get them into all these hexes that are town right here, block off the Germans, but also just take control of it, right? And put out fire in that direction. But these guys are not going to be able to move quick because unfortunately those are secondary, which means they only get 1 movement point. So we go 1, 2. I can pretty much just follow any of these hexes go to the roads. So it doesn't matter where I go with them. 1, 2. I'm going to go over there. Yeah. And 1, 2. We're going to do this all the way up. Well, these guys, bring them in, and I'll open up a couple more hexes. But like I said, I kind of want to spread these units all along this edge of this town. But right now, we're still blocked from line of sight. Not only by this being town, but by this slope that runs right here at the edge of the town, that brown line that is right there with the freaking roads. So it's hard to tell, but there's a slope going down. With them there, though, they'll be right there at the edge of the slope. They should be able to fire down, but that makes it hard for the Germans because they have to attack uphill and into a city. Now, this guy can go farther, so I am going to move him farther because that's just a platoon. I want to unlimber him, but probably not until next turn. Bring him around. Bring this AT over here because I want to get that gun up and have him do some shooties. And I wish this was a primary road. They could move farther. I can move this one up farther as well, though. He can go up down over here. I don't want those secondary roads. It'll open up a little bit of space, but not too much. He's got plenty. I'm not going to move the HQ that far. Yeah, we'll move the HQ up. Since he's got plenty of movement. And this guy's got 3, but it's 2/3 movement point for him, which means he should be able to get all the way up to there. And same for him. They can go farther. And same for him. Now we will be moving on some more armor right there behind them. But there is, like I said, let's swing this over. All of this right here is going to be coming up that road. And then all of this over here is going to be coming up these 2 roads. So the British have a lot going on as well. All right, basically you can see where they had the movement points available. I was able to go ahead and stack these armored platoons, but the British did not have the type of armor in this battle that they would have later on in the war. These were a lot of Matildas, but they were different versions. There was like Mark 1, Mark 2s, and Mark 4s. And you'll notice that in the stats because a lot of these do not have a primary weapon stat, and that's because they only had 50 cals. So some of these armored vehicles only have 50 cal weapons, but that's why they have just a secondary stat versus having primary. Now, some of the others do have primary attacks that had better weapons. They had like a 37 mil cannon or something like that on them, but they were rarer. The majority of the tanks that the British have for this attack are only Mark 1s. All right, and I am in the same position over here on this left side, the red line coming through. They're similar to the beige, except they had a longer stretch that they get to start in. There were 2 like waves coming in from the British attack, but more of these are on the board, so I got less of those that I still need to place. But here's the thing, looking at it, this is kind of what I'm loving referring to now as Death Valley, because that's why I did not move these AAs. They got a mortar back over here, but they've got their AAs, which I believe are the 88s. Or no, these might be the 88s because they have significant firepower, the black ones. So these are probably a lighter caliber AA. And they do not have... Yeah, they don't have that plus symbol. I think they can still damage the tanks, though. I don't think they're held to the restriction that the infantry would be, so they can still do some damage. They can't do the damage that these 88s can, but these can still do some hurt, and they got a line of fire right up here, right in this little valley. So if the tanks try to come along this road, they're blocked off, and then open line of sight. So I'm kind of thinking I might bring them around this way, up above. Or even I could get them on this main road, come up here, and then scoot down. That way I don't have to go through Death Valley, because coming down this way, I can get on this little minor road and come around, but that just leaves me open to fire as I'm coming along here, and it would force the Germans to come up and engage. All right, so I think that's what we're gonna do. Well, hold up. What is the primary again on that? Yeah, it's 2/3. 2/3. I mean, you can see some of it's like going up and down slope adds a fair amount. Streams cost a lot to cross. A lot of stuff is just one or a fraction of one, just depending. But if you're not going along a road in a town, it can cost you a lot. So you need to stick to the roads. But like Arrancourt's just, or Arras rather, is just full of roads. So you're pretty much on a road in every hex. This guy, with that being 2/3, I don't even know how that breaks down. Let me do my rough math real quick. Yeah, that means he could do 9 hexes if I stuck to this red or primary road. So he's got plenty. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And since I'm ignoring the supply and chain of command rules, since they're optional, I'm pretty good on that. I can pretty much move them where I want. And tracks are going to come up, but they do not get to go as far. See, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that as far as he can go? Or can you make 5? Yeah, they can only get 4 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep bringing these guys up. 3, 4. All right, let me move these guys up real quick. And here, real quick, just to show you, you can see the difference in some of the Matildas. So you see, like here, secondary weapon only with the 11 for defense, but this one has the secondary and a primary, so he can reach out and do a little bit of damage and a little bit higher defense as well. Got another one down over here, but those tanks were more rare. There's only a handful of those, while there's plenty of these Mark 1s. So ultimately, my goal as the British is to come down here and just smash up the Germans as much as I can before they pull out. But don't forget, it is up in this corner that the 25th Panzer Regiment is going to come pushing in. But I do have a few turns before they're going to show their ugly faces. All right, there we go. I had to do some finagling, but I think I got it. There's some of these counters that are coming on, like these that I'll show you guys. Whoop. Right there, you see they got some big numbers, but that's because these are company size elements. They are not platoon size. You can tell by the little mark that is right there above them. So they have a lot more inherent strength, a lot more inherent defense, because they're basically 3 of these other smaller infantry counters, right? That's the equivalent, 3 or 4 of them put together, but I can't break those up. Those are actual company size, which means they can only occupy a hex by themselves. I can't stack these guys, right? Some of the ones that are coming over here as well can't stack. Some of these I had to flip over to their mechanized side so they can move. This one needed a truck. There's another one over here needed a truck to move up. But other than that, there's still a handful back there to come in. A few more company-sized units, some more AT guns. We got some recon elements moving in, and these tanks are going to stack up as they slowly start to move their way down and shoot up this road. I plan to have them link up just south here of the Citadel and Arras and have them push in and attack into the German lines down over here, right? So like I keep saying, the Germans, come on, steady up for me. The Germans want to go this way. They want to go west, right? That's their victory objective. The British want to come down here and just sever their lines. They can do that pretty well with this road if they can make use of that. And they've got open fields of fire right through here. But that also means the Germans have open fields of fire. If you'll notice, they've got some AT elements here, 2 good stacks of AT elements here. They are supported by some artillery, some more artillery over here, some engineering elements that can move up back in the back. Down over here, we still have some more AA that can be used, direct fire, especially some more of those 88s back in the back that the Germans are going to move up. Actually, speaking of which, I want to go ahead and move those up. I forgot to do that. I'll do that on the next German turn since I did technically forget, but they got time. I want to load these, probably bring them straight up to this hill. Ooh, no, I have to bring them farther. They got a range of what, 9 hexes? Yeah. And this here, look at this, right? You see how that it starts to bleed just a little bit. Yeah, I mean you're having to look hard to see some of these numbers, especially things like unit designations, and that's fine. The black numbers are fine, but the counters that have white numbers. Oh, let me find one to show you. All right, like this here, that unit designation underneath the counter symbol itself. In white, this is HQ blur. I just cannot make that out. That white is just too light on that gray background. It makes it almost impossible to see. It's too small and too light. They should just all had them all in black because the black's easier to see. I don't know why they put white on some of those counters because it's just too difficult. All of these up here are in white, and then these other ones that are streaming along. That's why I had such a hard time figuring out which units were which. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I kind of want to move him up to this ridge, these 88s. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's close. Maybe if instead of moving him up to this ridge, I moved him up over to this hill. See, there's a hill. It's up at 100. And it has direct line of sight right in here to the city. Ooh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Just put them right here and just let them rain fire down on anything that tries to put itself there. Yeah, definitely going to be moving them there. That pretty much finishes out our first turn. We have some end of turn activities, which is pretty much removing these little counters, little beads that I've put out. But nothing too big to worry about. We're going to pick back up on the next turn. It'll be, let's see, where are we at? All right, so we started at 13:30. So yeah, it's every 15 minutes. 13:45 is where we're going to pick up on the next one, and it's going to be where the British start getting into this. And now the Germans are going to have to decide if they're going to put some of these units, some of these platoons into Overwatch. Because if they don't, then they can be, fired. It's the back and forth. That's the part that I like, the part that I'm really looking forward to, that I think makes this game worth the effort that you have to kind of put into it, in the fact that you're having to decide moving your units, and it's not just worrying about the opponent having opportunity fire at your guys, right? That's where they shoot during your turn, is opportunity fire. But Overwatch is where you shoot during your turn at their shooting during your turn to stop them from shooting during your turn. That's back and forth that I think could really make this stand out, is the fact that you have that opportunity to react to the actions that they're taking, to react to your actions that you're taking. And does he know that I know that he knows that I'm going to drop an 88 on his ass? That's not even getting into the to get to this table, the fire combat table where we got our odds. We got to get through this table where we got all these different modifiers. And this is where we're going to be looking at if we're not worrying about the combined arms aspect. But this is fire combat. This is assault combat. This is where you're knifing and jabbing. This is where you're shooting and stabbing, or shooting from a distance. But we got to look at this table. right? See if we're doing any of this stuff. If hard target, medium target, soft target, long, short range, if I figured that out correctly. So we got to figure out if there's any modifiers there, right? But on top of that, I don't even have the book with it. Remember, we got the surprise table for the first few turns of the game that's going to be coming into effect. So we've got those modifiers to these modifiers to this modifiers being added to finally getting to this table for one attack. And then we got to do that for each one of the attacks, man. That's what I'm talking about. This is not an easy beer and pretzels war game by any means. Do I think that it's worth the effort? Yes. Do I think that it's going to appeal to all war gamers? No. Do I think it's going to appeal to most war gamers? Probably not. This is going to be a niche, very niche war game. But I think there's an enjoyable game in here. You just gotta pry it from the jaws of itself. But I'm willing to put in the effort to get there. I'm willing to suffer so you guys can see it in all its glory. Hopefully. Stay tuned. We'll pick up on the next turn with the Germans. And now I've got to decide, do I flip these guys over to their mecha? Oh, God. These I probably won't, but these I probably will flip over to their mechanized side because they're so far back that there's no reason not to get the extra movement points to get them up, right, into the stuck in. But these guys I have to worry about because they're just a hex away. So if they move up, do they want to move up into the city? Well, that's just going to probably get them swarmed by the British. Down over here in the bottom, we're definitely going to be moving those guys to their mechanized side. I think all of them have it. Yeah, these guys all have built-in trucks on their counters, so have them move all the way around because they want to link up in the same spot that the British want to link up. So they all kind of want to link up here. This is where the fight is going to take place. And like I said, I still got to move up some of these shooty units. AT, really it's an AT, but it's AA. Artillery, AAA. Definitely got to move these guys up. I should have moved them up. I was waiting. I should have moved them up already, but we'll move them up on the next turn. They can move up over here, have some lines of fire. Anyway, you guys stay tuned. We'll pick up on the next video, and it's going to be all the modifiers. Y'all take care. I'll catch you in the next one.